Well, hello everyone. It's wonderful to be able to speak with you all again. And, and today, of course, my presentation is Bad Day. And of course, that was day 14 of the Tao of Joy Every Day. And the subtitle I've chosen for this presentation is How Bad Is It? And let's face it, the reality of it is if you live 365 days in a year, not all of them are going to be peaches and roses. There's going to be a few bad days once in a while. Hopefully fewer bad days than your good days, but it's the reality of life. We all have bad days. But I think an important question to really ask yourself when you're having a bad day is just how bad is it? Could it be worse? Sometimes it's important to remember that it's in comparing things that we evaluate situations. And sometimes it's good to compare the right things to change your outlook. That way you don't get locked into this bad day mentality when things don't always go exactly as we like. Now, Derek begins the chapter by talking about a quote from chapter 2 of the Tao Te Ching. Difficult and easy bring about each other. Long and short reveal each other. And this excerpt from chapter 2 really speaks volumes about how we look at things or how we perceive things. It's really only in the context of comparison of happiness that we understand sadness and vice versa. And I think that's true with almost every polar opposite you can think of. We know something is a certain way because of the opposite way it could be. So, bad day versus good day. There's a couple of polar opposites. And you might wonder, I intentionally put the bad day on the white side and the good day on the dark side of the yin and yang symbol. That was done intentionally. The reason why is because, to me, I think when you're perceiving yourself to be having a bad day, that really is sort of an active energy. You're actively, in a way, accepting that bad day. And sometimes, if you can bring yourself to the more yin side of yourself, turn inward, be a little more introspective, and think about it, what you often find is your bad day isn't really that bad. I mean, first of all, any day you get to wake up, well, that's a good day. That's a gift. Another day to live. How many people died in their sleep and didn't get that privilege? And just about anything that happens to you, it's almost a guarantee that there's someone who's having a tougher day somewhere in the world. And it's good to frame it in your mind that way. Often the difference between a bad day and a good day is just a change in perspective. Change the comparison. And in tweaking that comparison a little bit, what starts out as a bad day can get turned around. And the important thing to note is you're turning it around. We have the power to do that. Whether or not we're going to have a good day or a bad day, regardless of what happens, is up to us. Now, in the past, really before I understood the Tao teachings or even knew to practice them or try to practice them, it was easy to get locked into a bad day. And I'm sure we've all sort of experienced this to some degree. The things you say in your head, like, wow, I shouldn't have got up out of bed this morning. Or, I can't win for losing today. Or what next? What next is going to happen? And when you get into that mindset, sometimes it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell yourself enough that you're having a bad day, chances are you will. And so it's important to change your perspective, turn things around. And we do have the power to do that. So years ago in a presentation, Derek told a story, and I'm going from memory here, so I'll look to Derek to correct me if I don't have this right. I think the story was called the Sad Lady. I think that was the name of it. And I can't remember whether or not this is somewhere on Taoism.net. I did take a quick look for it. I didn't find it, and that may not be because it wasn't there. I may just not have found it, but I don't know if he's written this anywhere or not. But I remember him telling the story at a presentation, and I'm going to retell it because I think it fits the idea of changing perspectives very well. And so what I've called this slide here is umbrellas versus lemonades. And as I tell the story, for those of you who haven't heard it before or remember it, hopefully the point will be illustrated. So the way the story goes, there's a wise person who comes to a town, and he meets this woman, and she introduces herself, and she says, "Hello, I'm the sad lady." And he says, "Well, why are you the sad lady?" And she says, "Well, that's just the way I am." And so he decides to probe deeper, and he goes, "Well, why is it that you're sad?" And he goes, "Well, you see, I have these two sons, and one has a business where he sells umbrellas, and the other has a business where he sells lemonades, cold drinks." And the sage, the wise person, is thinking, okay, well, I don't see how this is bad. You have two sons who are business owners. That seems like a good thing. What's the problem? And she says, well, when it's raining, all I can think about is all the money that my son who sells lemonade is losing, because no one wants to drink lemonade on a cold day, on a cold, rainy day. And then when it's sunny out, all I can think about is all the money my son who sells umbrellas is losing, because no one needs an umbrella on a warm day. And the sage says, okay, I understand the problem. He says, what I want you to do is this. When it's raining, when a poor weather day, I want you to focus on your son who's selling the umbrellas, and think about all the money that he's making selling these umbrellas, and how he's wisely going to put some of it aside for those days when it's not raining and there's no need for people to buy umbrellas. And he goes, and similarly, when it's a sunny day, I want you to think of your son who's selling lemonades, and think about how much money he's making selling lemonade on that day, and how he's wisely going to put somebody aside for those days when it's raining and the lemonade business isn't going to be so good on those days. And so she agrees to do this. And at some point in the future, the wise person comes back, and she runs into him, and she says, "Hi, I'm the happy lady." And he says, "Well, why are you happy?" And she says, "It's just the way I am." So I love the story, and often when I catch myself getting mired into this idea of, boy, I'm having a bad day, I try to think of umbrellas and lemonades, and try to think about, often what you choose to focus on can really play a big role in the reality that you will experience. Often all that's needed is just a little change in perspective. Okay, so I'm going to start to sum it up now, if I can. When having a bad day, as we all tend to experience from time to time, it is good to remind ourselves of the phrase polar opposites. Think about the fact that we perceive bad or good or any comparisons or any descriptions, I should say, in the context of its opposite. Remember that it is really only through comparisons that we make evaluations about anything. Often a change in the type of comparison we focus on can change what seemed like a bad day into a good day. Now, being here in this life, no matter what we're facing, is a good thing. Life is a gift regardless of its difficulties. This can even be true in the cases where we face extreme physical pain or extreme emotional pain. In thinking about this, I think about my brother-in-law. He was injured in an on-the-job injury in his early 30s and had to take early retirement because of this injury. And he's now in his early 60s. But part of the consequence of this injury is that he endures a great deal of physical pain. But what I admire so much about my brother-in-law is how he overcomes it. And often, it's a change in focus. And I, from knowing him for a long time and from him talking to me about it and how he deals with it, I can tell when he's in pain because I notice the little things he does to shift his attention away from the pain. And, that requires sort of an active thinking to do that. And often it can be the same thing with emotional pain as well. The techniques may be a little different, but it is a change of focus and a change of thinking that can make all the difference in the world. And also, too, it's important to remember that there's always someone who likely has it worse. And that sort of brings me to my last point. When a bad day comes our way, we should think with humility, gratitude, and compassion that there is always someone in the world suffering more than we are. And that can often help to change our outlook. I mean, if you think about how fortunate we all are to be where we are. I think probably I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most of us in this meeting probably have shelter. We probably have food. We probably have clothing. There are many people in the world who don't have those things or struggle to get by, to survive every day. And when you look at it in that context, it's hard to accept any day that I have as a bad day. And so often what's needed the difference between a good day and a bad day is just a different way of looking at things. So I want to end the presentation with the book recommendation, The Tao of Joy Every, a great book to use daily to help one study and learn the Tao teachings and put them into action. Okay, so there it was, day 14, bad day, how bad is it? Thank you all for taking the time to listen to what I had to say today. I hope I said something that was of use, and I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday.